Hey, somebody's got to find out if the Great Pumpkin has left his patch. He has? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Here, you and I will use common sense and all the wisdom we can muster to move beyond what is true and go all the way to the truth. With listeners now in 92 countries around the world, welcome Pakistan. Hey, Pakistan. I am the Professional Noticer.
Alrighty then.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Thank you for making me a part of your week. As the Professional Noticer, it is my job, of course, to professionally notice something for you. Nothing's off limits. So what is your area of greatest confoundment? Family, business, spiritual issues, popular culture? We even tackle the odd conundrum here, like, without looking up the explanation, can you make sense of this sentence? Buffalo, 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 buffalo. My purpose here today, and with every show we do, is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life you would live if all your toughest questions were answered. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs, all the big Polaris side-by-side, the Ranger Crew. They have all kinds of stuff here, but you have to experience the showroom. And when you go in there, tell them that Andy said hello. I'm just letting you know, Shannon and Lisa Tucker are my buddies. These are some of the greatest people in the world. They're there in Jackson, Alabama, on the north side of Jackson, Alabama. And you have to experience this showroom. Besides the Polaris ATVs everywhere, there are antique displays, there's beautiful taxidermy, there's an indoor porch that is just my favorite. I mean, it's got a porch swing, it's got comfortable chairs, books, free coffee, which is one of my favorite parts, and a huge television set. And when you go into Tucker ATV, you'll be treated like family. I'm telling you, Shannon and Lisa treat people like family, which is it's the only explanation for why folks from 14 states do business with Tucker ATV. Well, the only explanation, along with their great prices, incredible service. So you have to visit the Tucker ATV showroom, visit their Facebook page until you can get there, and read some of the funny stories that Lisa writes, or just visit them in person sometime. The showroom is on Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers are what we do here. I deliver the observations, you provide the questions, and remember, the quality of answers can only be determined by the quality of your questions. And no, I would love to field a question from you, so write me. The email is theprofessionalnoticer@andyandrews.com. And listen, if we use your question, the Professional Noticer will send you your choice of the Guided Traveler Experience, or you could choose the 100-Year Parenting, a collection of 53 videos. So, we usually do the first question here, but before we do, here's a fast explanation of the buffalo conundrum posed a moment ago. Remember? Buffalo, 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 buffalo. The earliest known written example we have that one can construct a grammatically correct sentence consisting of nothing but 8 repetitions of buffalo appears in the original manuscript for Borgman's 1965 book, Language on Vacation. But the chapter that was containing it was omitted from the published version. Thanks, editors. This is how it works. The sentence is unpunctuated and uses 3 different readings of the word buffalo. In order of their use in the sentence, they are 1, a city named Buffalo. This is used as a noun adjunct in the sentence. 2, the noun buffalo, American bison, an animal, in the plural is equivalent to buffaloes or buffaloes in order to avoid articles, of course. And 3, the verb buffalo, meaning to outwit, confuse, deceive, intimidate, or baffle. The sentence uses a restrictive clause, so there are no commas, nor is there the word which needed. This restrictive clause is also a reduced relative clause. So the word that, which could appear between the second and third words of the sentence, is also omitted. For your listening pleasure, if all the extra words were included, the sentence would read like this. The buffalo from Buffalo, who are buffaloed by buffalo from Buffalo, buffalo other buffalo from Buffalo. Whew. And there you go. Don't ask any more questions about this. I have no clue. But this week, our first question is from MJ. Hey, MJ.
Hi, Andy. I think my desire for personal and spiritual growth is driving a wedge between me and my spouse's family, which is obviously affecting my relationship with my spouse. My desire to make better overall decisions is seen by them as being controlling and insensitive. They are often offended when others don't go along with their thinking. A large part of my spouse's family are not open to outside counsel, and they even say that I am the one that is in need of counseling. Recently, a sibling who has been out of a job for several months wanted to go on vacation with the other siblings and their spouse. The answer of no was not well received by family members. Now the family member who said no is being called a jerk, even though both the husband and wife were in agreement of a no decision. Personal and spiritual growth will still be pursued, loving and laughing and thinking of others first. But how do we tiptoe around such environments? One of the kids recently said the parents will always side with their kids in any dispute. Look forward to your answer. Thanks, MJ.
MJ, hey, thank you so much for the question. Wow, my mind is going all over the place when I hear this. And I want to point out something to you. I appreciate so much the question, but sometimes I have noticed, I don't know why this is more often when I ask a question of my wife than any other, but sometimes I've noticed I ask a question and it reveals blind spots that I have about what might be happening that I think is happening because of someone else, and it's, in fact, happening because of me. Angela, let me just point out a couple of things just for you to think about. Because let me give you an overall absolute. An overall absolute is you are not going to be able to do anything. There's really nothing you're going to be able to do about your wife's parents. There is, now, when I say that, though, I mean actively. I mean, you're not going to be able to go to them and tell them, look, this is the way it is. You're not going to be able to send anybody to tell them you should listen to MJ. You're not going to be able to, there's nothing like that you're going to be able to do. Now, allowing them time and allowing yourself time, that is something you can do. But to actually have the patience to do that, and the wisdom to do that is tough for me. You know, I tend to want to go to somebody and say, listen, here's what you need to understand. This is what you're not understanding. And I have found that there are times, and this has been true in my personal life and in my business life. And I'm about to tell you this, and so just listen carefully here, MJ, because I'm telling you about myself before I bring you into it. And so just know that I've thought about this a lot, but I've thought about it really in terms of how many times I have screwed up. I believe now that there are things that we can learn, things that we can know. There is truth that we can understand, that we have to be very careful in telling anybody else, or certainly telling specific people. Okay, you know, in in my personal life, I have known some things that were absolutely the truth, and I caused nothing but more problems by making sure that some people in my personal life knew the truth. It didn't really solve anything. And then in my business life, I have literally cared about somebody so much, or I've cared about a client so much that I have felt it was my responsibility to tell them the truth about their situation because they were my client. Never really taking into account that my client was in a place where they obviously did not want to hear this. And by making sure they knew, I have come close to putting myself in a position where I didn't get to tell them anything else. Because, you can tell somebody the truth and still be somebody that they just don't want to be around. And so you're never going to be able to tell them any more truth, or at least in my case, I see I'm never be able to tell them anything else. If I really go through and tell them this, and I know it could help them, but I'm not going to be able to help them long term if they, not only will I tell them this and they not do it, then they'll get rid of me and nobody will be around to tell them anything else. So as Bill Gaither told me one time, and I thought this was some of the wisest advice I've ever heard, he said, answered prayers should be shared very carefully. Isn't that great? So, MJ, the first thing I see here is the last line. I'm just going to point this out. The last line that you said, one of the kids recently said that the parents will always side with their kids in any dispute. Allow me to say here, of course. Of course. And any of us who go, who disagree with some other kid or disagree with somebody else's children or, to think that their parents are not going to side with the kids is foolish. There, you and I, we know we're going to side with our kids. I mean, we may go behind the scenes and take our kids and say, listen, you can't do it. But publicly, we're siding with our kids. And so are they. Now, I want to point something out here that you may not have thought of. The very first thing you said, my head kind of cocked up when you said it. You said that you think your desire for personal growth and spiritual growth is driving a wedge between you and your spouse's family. I want to say that while it is true that a wedge is being driven between you and your spouse's family, I don't believe that it is your desire for personal and spiritual growth that's doing it. Because if you only had a desire for personal and spiritual growth, and you worked on that desire personally and with your spiritual life without bringing them into it, there would be nothing to drive a wedge between you and them because they wouldn't even know about it. So I don't necessarily think it is your desire for this that's driving a wedge. Okay, perhaps it is your desire being made known to them in a way that makes them feel like you think they don't have a desire for personal and spiritual growth, or certainly not one as deep as yours. And you say, obviously, that affects your relationship with your spouse. Yep. Wow. Anything that drives a wedge between somebody and their parents is going to affect their relationship with that somebody, even if that somebody is your spouse. You said that your desire to make better overall decisions is seen by them as controlling and insensitive. Okay, again, I don't think it's your desire to make better overall decisions, because certainly you could have a desire to make better overall decisions without them knowing anything about it. So I don't think it's your desire that is seen by them as controlling and insensitive. Now, it might be attempting to impose better overall decisions on them that is seen by them as controlling and insensitive, because again, just like the first one, buddy, I'm not seeing how, if they don't know that you have to, if they don't know that you're really, really trying to make better overall decisions in your life, and that includes the stupid things they're doing, I don't know that they're going to be upset, because how would they even know? You mentioned there, and man, I don't mean to go line by line, but I just want you to kind of look, because it's not just you, MJ. This is all of us and all the time. You said they are often offended when others don't go along with their thinking. I got to tell you, man, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess I am often offended when other people don't go along with my thinking. I suppose that's why sometimes I keep, after them and thinking they're going to go along with my thinking, and end up, it's usually somebody in my family, making them irritated. But we're all often offended when others don't go along with our thinking. And so don't be surprised that they are. Okay. Now here's one that tells me a lot, buddy. And I just kind of feel for you here, because you sound like me. I mean, this sounds like you have said something that I would have said, and I would be getting a talking to from Polly. And, I'd have my boys going, yeah, Dad, that was pretty, you shouldn't have said that. But this sounds like me. You said a large part of your spouse's family, they're not open to outside counsel. Even saying that you are the only one who needs counseling. You know what that seems like to me? It seems like to me that you have asked them if they are open to outside counsel. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Because I'm not sure anybody would have come back and said, us? You're the only one who needs counseling, if somebody had not suggested that in the first place. I can tell you without a doubt, anybody who does not come to you for counseling, anybody who does not come to you with questions, I can just tell you, it's, at least it's the rare person who is not going to be aggravated with us saying, you need to get counseling. You ever thought about getting counseling? You mentioned that there was a sibling who's been out of a job for several months and wanted to go on vacation with one of the other siblings and their spouse. Now, I'm assuming, the way this is written, that the sibling is a sibling of, one of the other siblings and their spouse. I'm assuming that other sibling would be your wife and their spouse would be you. Because you seem to know a lot about this that happened. And the answer no was not received well by family members. And now the family member who said no is being called a jerk. So somebody's calling you a jerk, aren't they? Well, both husband and wife are in agreement of the no decision. Now, listen, it's totally within your rights to say no. It's totally within your rights to go on vacation by yourself. And it's totally within your rights to say no to somebody who might be expecting you to pay every time you go out to eat dinner, or that you might feel that weird pressure to do it. And so it's totally within your rights. But, MJ, you got to be smart here about what you suspect is going to be happening anyway. And in the future, I would urge you not to spread it around that you're going on vacation. Okay? I mean, you may say, well, somebody had to keep the kids. Well, don't use them to keep the kids. Get somebody else to keep the kids. But if you have somebody close to you who is likely not to be able to go on vacation that year because they're out of a job, then don't be telling them about your vacation. If you go on vacation, just go and come back. And if they ask you about it, just say, yeah, it was great. But don't make a big deal about it, because you don't want to make them feel bad, because they didn't go on one. They're not likely to go on one because they're out of a job. But be careful putting people in a position. If you know that these are the kind of people who are likely to ask, can we go too? Well, just don't let them know you're going. I'm glad you say that personal and spiritual growth will still be pursued, because you need to. Loving, laughing, thinking of other people first. But your big question, how do we tiptoe around such environments? MJ, I think the answer is you're just going to have to not put yourself out there as much as you have. You're going to have to love these people where they are. If there's going to be any griping, you and your wife may, you need to keep that to yourselves. And frankly, brother, just from husband to husband, if there's going to be any griping about her parents, you better let her do it. And, and I would be careful agreeing with her. I would be careful to say anything other than, yeah, I can see why you see that. I can see why you say that. Yeah. Well, because man, you're never going to win this. And there's nothing really here you want to win anyway. You have a desire for personal and spiritual growth. You want to lead your family. You want peace in your family. You want peace in your relationship with your spouse. Okay. This one is fairly easy. Okay, because your desire is for your personal and spiritual growth. That's what you're responsible for. You're not even responsible for your wife's personal growth. You're responsible to be a spiritual example, to lead. But listen, you're not even what are you going to do? Tell her you read this book? I mean, what are you going to do? That would certainly affect your relationship with your spouse. And so different people grow at different paces. And, that's just the way God made us. We can encourage. You can go out, you can plant something, and you can water it. You can fertilize it. You can stand there and move stuff and provide it sun. You can stand over it and provide it a little shade occasionally. You can keep the wind from blowing on it so much. But I want to tell you, if you reach down and grab that plant by the trunk and try to make it grow faster, the results will not be good. Okay? Listen, man, it's a good thing that this is not a major thing. I don't believe. I don't think this is something that can't be dialed back in. Okay, I think that all you have to do is just kind of smile and be quiet and make sure that you don't have the look on your face that says, "I'm just smiling and being quiet." You know what I mean? Okay, buddy. Thank you very much. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. Hey, here's a thought. I know you can use Google to find heat-resistant hiking boots, or you could use Google to find the answer to just how hot is an active volcano. But where do you seek wisdom? There's a big difference in knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge would help you create a word like lava from the Latin lavare, meaning to wash. But wisdom would tell you to get out of there before you ever see the lava. Wisdom would have you running when the ground first begins to rumble. Pure knowledge, without the wisdom to apply that knowledge in the proper way, is often useless. So allow me to suggest wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdom, H-A-R-B-O-U-R. Wisdom Harbor, harbor with an O-U-R. Go there now. Go to wisdomharbor.com and be welcomed by a friend of yours and to get a free 5-minute guided tour. Okay, this is, and I would really urge you, go ahead and join. $17 a month. This is for your family, your business, and your school. Wisdomharbor.com. Our next question is from Patrick. Hey, Patrick.
Andy, my name is Patrick. I am from South Fulton, Tennessee, and indeed love your program. Actually, I'm a student pastor, and the Traveler's Gift is required reading for any of my high school students going on an overseas mission trip with me, along with a couple of other books, but it is always in the top 3. My question today is simply this. How do you ask great questions? Because we all know that not all questions are the same, and I want to be an incredible pastor, but I also want to ask great questions, not just in ministry, but in life, dealing with my friends, with my family, and also those in whom I minister to. So my question is, do you ask great questions? And if you don't mind, if you could only have 3 questions to ask, what 3 basic questions would you ask any individual whatsoever? Thank you. Have a great day. And I hope that you pick my question as a great question.
Patrick, buddy, you are correct. But we did pick your question, and it was a great question. To figure out the best way to ask questions, knowing that the quality of your answers will only be determined by the quality of your question, to figure out how to ask great questions and to become a student of questions is, I think is very important. It's something that I've really paid attention to for a long time. And so I'm glad you're paying attention to this too. You say, how do you ask great questions? Because, and you're right, we know that all questions are not the same. And if you want to be incredible at whatever you do, you really do have to learn to ask great questions. Because I have found, as I'm sure you have found in dealing with high school students or anybody, I'm sure you have found, Patrick, that you just can't tell people stuff. You just got to be careful, even if you know. Just like we were talking about just a few minutes ago to MJ, you can't just go tell people stuff. And so questions are a way of guiding the conversation, guiding the thought process. And so when you want to deal with your friends, your family, people you minister to effectively, Patrick, you're right. Great questions are the deal. So you ask, how do you ask great questions? And if I only had 3 questions to ask, what would they be? Well, I think you ask great questions. I think you learn to ask great questions. And, I know that part of the answer is by doing it. You have to do it. Well, that's obvious. But I think the less obvious part of it is I think we learn to ask great questions by beginning with the end in mind. Now, sometimes you're helping somebody find an answer that does not yet exist. And so sometimes, those are great leadership questions that you want to develop there. Because if you're part of a group, you're leading a group to find a treasure that everybody knows is there, but just nobody has the map for it. Nobody really knows how to get to it. Then you have to inspire and encourage a team to do the right things long enough and to get them. So you ask questions that are based on the end result that you're all looking for. And you encourage those questions from them. So, I think another big part of it is of asking great questions is if you're helping somebody that you already know the answer, but you suspect, you'd better not tell them what it is. I think you can ask questions in those instances a lot easier because you are beginning with an end in mind that you know what the end of the thing is. And so you can lead them directly to it. Now, whether they will accept it when they get there, you've heard me say that Jones he said to me years ago, you can't always believe everything you think. Well, one of the other things he told me, he said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him think. You ask if I had 3 questions. What are 3 basic questions that I would ask any individual whatsoever? I can tell you the answer to that very quickly without even thinking about it because I ask them all the time. These are great questions to ask somebody you've known a long time. These are great questions to ask somebody you just met. These are great questions to ask younger people, older people. These are, I think, 3 great basic questions that you can ask anybody, and you can ask them in different ways. But the first one is so obvious that most people just never ask it, and that is, what is your story? Tell me your story. What's your story? And sometimes people go, my story? Yeah, everybody has a story. What's your story? Where are you from? What do your brothers and sisters do? What's your favorite football team? What's your story? And a lot of times people can tell you that in 2 or 3 minutes. A lot of times you might have to ask them, well, now about this part of your story. But if you can get people talking about their story, you can find so many ways to help. You can build relationships so quickly. You can find ways to reconnect with them in the future. What is your story is a great one. And then another one that I use all the time is it always begins, if you had a magic wand, and then it just moves on from there. But the premise of the question is, if you had a magic wand, what would your life look like in 10 years? Or if you had a magic wand, when we get through talking, what would you know? Or if you had a magic wand, when you got home, what would your kids be doing? If you had a magic wand, what would happen in your business this month? I mean, this can be used in so many different ways because many people don't know which way to turn because they've really never considered the best. And so you want to help people remember that it's a magic wand. It's kind of funny to do, but here's an example. If I said, if you had a magic wand, what kind of house would you live in? And a lot of people will say, well, knowing what I do for a living. And I say, no, forget about what you do for a living. I said you had a magic wand. So you want to get to what people's best could be so that they have a chance and you have an opportunity to help them find that pathway to it. And here's my third, which I think this is a great question. It's a silly question. I used it on myself. I've used it with, with very high-level business clients. I've used it with my boys. This is a great one. And here's what it is. And it's best used when people are stuck. It's best used if you ask another question and they say they don't know. Because you'll get that a lot of times. I don't know. Hey, you'd be talking to business people. What should we do here? I don't know. Well, because of the downturn in the society, what do you think our next? I don't know. Hey guys, should you? Well, I don't know. All right. So your question is, hey, I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would you say? I mean, I know you don't. But just use your imagination for a minute here. Just imagine. I know you don't know, but if you did know, just imagine you did know. And if you did know, what would your answer be? You can get people to thinking, especially if you do it in a fun way. I do that with myself, because I'm just like everybody else. I'm tempted to get to a place and go, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to write after this. I can't find it. I can't find a transition. I can't figure out, what they're going to do in this. I'm at a plot point and I'm just as liable to do that as anybody else. But experience tells me that the right question, even to myself, can get me out of that place. I don't know where this is going from here. Yeah, I can be stuck writing. I don't know where this is going. And I sit back and go, okay, I know you don't know where this is going. But if you had to determine where it was going and write it down now, what would you write? And a lot of times just starting to write something just to answer that question can break that log jam and get me right through into something. I may have to go back and change a couple of things. I may have to, go back and look at how I got there and go, wow, I need to cut off some of this. I don't need to travel that far to get to this great place I got to. But it'll get me going and it'll get me to that place. There's 3 questions. All right. Hey, thank you, buddy. And I think yours really was a great question, Patrick. Okay, I am the professional noticer. And ladies and gentlemen, if you appreciate this podcast, I would really appreciate you going to iTunes and giving us a nice review. You know, of course, that you can only review a particular podcast on iTunes once, right? Therefore, if you haven't already, please make today your day. Okay? And I think that'll do it for this week. I think that'll do it. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Shake hands with the kids you meet and make sure you have an answer to the question, why do we say an alarm clock is going off when really it's just coming on? And so until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Caramel Corn provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by the Gobbledygook Speed Breeders Association of Legal Warnings. At the GSRA LW, we're committed to providing you with all the necessary information that's going to keep our lawyers happy and, interestingly, with less work to do. Who are we? We are the folks who let you know how really sick you might become if you actually try that new medicine everyone's recommending. As you hear our warnings, remember the most interesting thing about doctors is that every day for them is just practice. In every other profession, practice always comes before doing the real thing. But doctors, well, they get a medical degree which allows them to obtain a license to practice. And never forget, my friend, they are practicing on you. Therefore, we at the Gobbledygook Speed Breeders Association of Legal Warnings are hired by the pharmaceutical industry to remind you that there are occasional side effects like intense nostril flaring, droopy earlobes, follicle tenderness, Willy Wonka syndrome, delusions of grandeur, cat stress fever, and extreme fatigue on only one half of your body. To determine whether it's the right half, left half, top half, or bottom half, consult your practicing physician. Be aware that immediate death, lingering death, and horrible death are possibilities to consider.